Worry is something that everyone deals with at some point in their lives. But for many of us, the ups and downs of life have caused worry to embed itself as a daily habit that's extremely difficult to shake off. As well as casting a shadow over our day-to-day mood, the consequences of worry can have much more devastating effects, impacting our physical health with symptoms such as chronic headaches, insomnia, stomach ulcers, and heart issues. On top of that, worry has the tendency to aid us in making bad decisions, impact our relationships, and lead us down paths we don't really want to take. After reading several books on the subject, I discovered some real truth in How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, which has helped me put things into perspective, analyse the issues which cause distress, and find different ways to combat them. Author Dale Carnegie researched a vast number of philosophers and great minds when studying this crippling issue. He also interviewed a list of highly successful people to help formulate the text, from university professors to leaders of industry. It may have been published in 1948, but the information remains as valid today as it did back then, and has sold millions of copies over the years. In this video, I'm going to highlight a couple of key points raised in the book and give my own thoughts and opinions along the way. Many of us dwell on past experiences or concentrate too much of our energy on the distant future, but we need to shut the iron doors on the past and the future. Live in day-tight compartments. We've all heard the expression, "Don't cry over spilt milk," but how many of us actually follow this principle? We dwell on our mistakes, beat ourselves up with guilt, and dedicate so much time and emotion to regret, when we need to let things go if we don't want our past to destroy our present and future. The primitive regions of our brain are hardwired to help us avoid danger, letting past experiences project potential threats that the future may hold. But today is a new day. Don't let the past control your future. On top of this, we bear the heavy burden of what is to come, worrying, what if? When truth be told, the best way to plan for tomorrow is by focusing all of our enthusiasm and intelligence on doing our best today. This really is the best preparation for the future. For many of us, this is not something we can suddenly switch off. Most of us feel apprehensive about aspects of the future, an upcoming exam, health problems, or financial and business issues. But if you stop and think for a moment, is worrying about the future going to help my current situation in any way? If anything, it just clouds the mind and stops us running at full capacity. Of course, a certain level of concern is constructive. It makes us stop and think about pending circumstances and pushes us to find the answer to a problem or prepare for a situation. If we had no concern at all, then we'd consistently fail exams and perform terribly at work. But there's a big difference between preparing for the future by focusing on today and needlessly wasting your strength worrying about what may lie ahead. The load of tomorrow added to that of yesterday, carried today, makes the strongest falter. Shut off the future as tightly as the past. The future is today. There is no tomorrow. So consciously try to cultivate the habit of identifying the things exhausting you with worry, whether it be the past or the future, and instead focus your time, energy, and sanity on being productive today. Every day is a new life to a wise man. And when it comes to the mountain of tasks you feel you're burdened with every day, think of your life as an hourglass. There are thousands of grains of sand that need to pass through that narrow middle. Nothing you or I can do will make them pass any quicker. Every morning we feel there are hundreds of tasks that we must accomplish that day. But if we don't take them one at a time and let them pass evenly like each grain of sand in the hourglass, then we're bound to break our own physical or mental structures. So don't cloud your mind with the long list of burdens ahead. Focus on the task at hand and work things through one step at a time. Dale Carnegie gives us key lessons to think about, including using the law of averages to outlaw your worries. Ask yourself, what are the odds against these things happening at all? A great deal of us cause unnecessary discomfort, worrying about things that probably won't even come to realization. Professor William Lyon Phelps says he suffered from immense anxiety before finally overthrowing this destructive state. He realized he needed to get proper perspective on the issues causing him so much worry. 2 months from now, I shall not be worrying about this bad break, so why worry about it now? Try this for yourself. Write down a list of the things that are worrying you and put them in a drawer out of sight. Then come back to them a couple of months later and see how many of these problems were given needless attention and worry. It's not a matter of simply ignoring your issues, but rather getting perspective on the problems we worry about. So think to yourself, if this cause for concern does eventually manifest, what's the worst possible outcome, and how can I focus my energy on solving the problem instead of wasting it on worry? It sounds dramatic, but 99% of the things we worry about are not life and death situations. Very often the things we're stressing over boil down to us either losing some time or losing some money. Now of course, we need money to live, but at the end of the day, a bit of money lost can be recuperated in the future. And yes, we only have a limited amount of time on this earth, so of course we worry about prolonging tasks or failing, starting from scratch and wasting time. But here's the thing, surely it's better to fail at something and spend a little time repeating it calmly, instead of living your whole life worrying about every challenge or situation. Being stuck in this habit will ensure every schedule or task just results in additional stress. So don't put this unnecessary pressure on yourself. If you waste a bit of time or lose a bit of money, life goes on and you can always make up for the loss. Herbert E. Hawkes, Dean of Columbia College for 22 years, helped hundreds of students by highlighting that half the worry in the world is caused by people trying to make decisions before they have sufficient knowledge on which to base a decision. Many of us clutter the present by worrying about potential issues next week, next month, or perhaps even further down the line, when merely writing the facts on a piece of paper and stating our problem clearly goes a long way toward helping us to reach a sensible decision. So whatever you're facing, gather as much information available about the situation and think to yourself, what's the worst that could happen? One of the worst features about worry is that it destroys our ability to concentrate. When we worry, our minds jump here and there and everywhere, and we lose all power of decision. It may be difficult at first, but if you force yourself to consider the worst possible outcome, at least then you can work towards a solution. So if you're in a situation that could potentially result in you losing your job, rather than worrying every minute of every day, think about constructive ways in which this can be avoided. And if the worst case scenario does unfold, think about how you can prepare yourself to find another job and move on. Chances are the worst outcome won't even happen, but if you gather the facts available and mentally prepare yourself for the worst possible outcome, then you've done all you can do, and you need to let go and not let yourself live a life controlled by worry. Life throws some pretty awful hurdles in our path, some of which are unavoidable no matter what we do, but it's better to analyse the situation and keep a clear head, working towards a solution rather than letting every negative circumstance ruin your life. Think back to some of the worst situations you've experienced. At the time, I'm sure you were ground down with anxiety, not knowing which way to turn and how you could possibly get through these situations. But look, you're still here. You got through it. And chances are the things you're worrying about now are small in comparison. Dale Carnegie gives real-world examples of people who have faced some of the worst circumstances you could imagine, from losing their vision to losing 2 young children within 10 months. Now, I'm not for a second saying that your worries are irrelevant. We all have our own problems, and just because someone else's issues are amplified, it doesn't mean to say your own worries are meaningless. But if you are someone that lets worry take hold, then try to get some perspective on the situation in relation to your whole life. Look back at the things you've overcome in the past and ask yourself, is this issue at hand really worth the stress? I'm guilty of this myself. I've had some pretty big obstacles in my own life, as I'm sure you have too, but sometimes I still find myself getting worried over things that are nothing in comparison. I literally have to tell myself to stop and think for a moment. I've dealt with issues like this before, so why am I letting these problems get the better of me? It may take time to break the habit, but next time you're worrying about something, just stop for a moment and reflect on the things you've conquered in the past. Is your current situation really worth the stress and anxiety you're feeling? So don't spend time and sacrifice your own happiness on worry. Instead, spend that time gathering the facts, focusing on today, and enjoying your life, knowing that if the worst does happen, then you're prepared for it. And whatever the outcome, you will find a solution and you will get through it. How to Stop Worrying and Start Living goes into much greater detail, looking at how to analyse your worries and different methods to put a stop to this distress. I've simply highlighted a couple of areas and given my own viewpoint and examples today. If you're interested in reading the full book or listening to the audiobook, then I've dropped some links in the description below. I really hope this video helps you in some way. If so, then it'd be great if you can smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe for more videos coming soon. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you next time.